Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'll be talking free agents, taking you through a list of players that are out of contract this summer, which could be potentially of interest to Everton in the summer transfer window. So let's get straight into it. Obviously, the transfer window is very close to opening now, and obviously, free agents are something that Everton will be looking at. It's a market that we definitely should be looking at. If you look at our probably one of our most successful transfers in recent years is James Tarkowski, and he obviously came on a free from Burnley under Frank Lampard in 2022. So it's a market that we definitely should be looking in. And fingers crossed, there's a few gems that we can unearth and maybe get a decent deal and really bolster out the squad because obviously, as we know, it's a big rebuild this summer for David Moyes, and there's not going to be loads of money to spend, but there is money to spend there. So if we can be prudent in the market and get some free agents and get some little gems there, then I think it's very positive. But in this list, there's going to be some who are very attainable. There's some who are maybe a little bit more ambitious. We're not talking your Cristiano Ronaldo's, your Lionel Messi's, your Kevin De Bruyne's. They're unfortunately not included in this list. There could be some gems in there which we might be of interest to. Potential players that could really bolster the squad or even bolster the starting 11. But we'll start by breaking it up into sort of goalkeepers, full-backs, midfielders, and then attacking players. So we'll start in goal, of course. And this one, obviously, we're not short of quality in terms of our starting goalkeeper. Jordan Pickford is absolutely fantastic. He's dynamite, some may say. He's going to be our number one for many years to come, in my opinion. He's an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. But in the wake of the news that Asmir Begovic will be leaving the club, obviously, it kind of opens the door for a second, third choice maybe having to come in. And I think, if we want to really bolster the squad, I think the funds have to be focused in other areas of the pitch rather than goalkeeper. So there's a few diamonds here that we maybe could get in the door. So we'll start with the first one. The first goalkeeper free agent is Lucas Fabianski. He is leaving West Ham at the end of his contract this summer. He's 40 years old. This one may be sensible following the exit of Asmir Begovic. He's obviously worked with David Moyes previously at West Ham. Last season, he made 14 appearances, keeping 3 clean sheets. As I said before, he's not going to start many games. He's probably not going to start any games at all. But Begovic and João Virginia both leaving in the summer. We're going to need goalkeeper. We're going to need backups that maybe play the odd cup game, or if the unspeakable did happen and Jordan Pickford got injured, for example, we need a competent, experienced goalkeeper to come in. So I think Fabianski, obviously 40 years old, is probably a number that we don't want to be looking at too much in terms of paying a lot of money for him. But leaving West Ham, it'd be a free transfer. So I think it would probably be sensible. It's a similar kind of ilk of player to Asmir Begovic, so I think this one will probably be sensible. But if there's younger, more hungry options out there, obviously we know that Harry Tyra will be coming back from his loan, so I do anticipate him maybe taking João Virginia's place as the number two or even number three. But if we can be smart in the market and bring in an experienced goalkeeper to help the development of Harry Tyra, I think that could be a positive. But another potential goalkeeper which could come in, Freddie Woodman. He's leaving Preston on a free transfer. This one could be a smart backup as well if we maybe wanted to loan out Harry Tyra for another loan to get him a little bit more development, a little bit more men's first team football. Freddie Woodman last season, he made 37 appearances, got 13 clean sheets in the league for Preston. It wasn't the most easy of seasons for Preston North End. They nearly got relegated, just staying up on the final day. I think it was a draw with Bristol City, which meant they kept their championship status. But again, I think he's a little bit younger, obviously a lot younger than Lucas Fabianski. So maybe him coming in is the sort of replacement for João Virginia, for example. But that one could be a smart move, maybe if you need just a smart backup. I think Manchester United are also interested in Freddie Woodman, so we'd face a little bit of a battle to sign him. But as I said before, 37 appearances, 13 clean sheets in the Championship. We know how crazy the league of a Championship, how crazy of a league the Championship is. So this one could be smart business, obviously leaving Preston North End. So that's one definitely to keep an eye on and definitely to have a look at. But moving away from goalkeepers now, we'll move into fullbacks. And the first one for me, I think, is probably one of the most smart ones. It's Kyle Walker-Peters. He's leaving Southampton on a free transfer after a pretty successful spell down on the South Coast with the Saints. He's such a versatile player, in my opinion. Kyle Walker-Peters can play either side of fullback. So it'd be great for backup in the absence, obviously, of Ashley Young leaving at the end of his contract. Play on the right-hand side, play on the left-hand side. It'd give good competition for places for the likes of Nathan Patterson, so Vitaly Mikalenko on both sides. He played 33 times this season. Listen, I know it wasn't the best of seasons for Southampton, but at times he did look pretty assured. I think he is a decent experienced Premier League player. 28 years old now, so getting towards that prime of his career. I think that's a good age for a fullback. Maybe it's not the sort of exciting kind of transfer that we need, but I think this one would be really, really smart to bring in Kyle Walker-Peters. It would be very, very smart, in my opinion. Obviously, he would probably look a little bit better playing an Everton team rather than a Southampton team because they have been nothing short of abysmal all season, Southampton. So he'd definitely be looking better than an Everton team. But this one for me, I think sits probably top of the list of all the players that I'm going to mention in this video is Kyle Walker-Peters, because I just think he's really, really smart business, so versatile, can play on either side. So this is one I'd definitely be looking to get in. And, I think you're going to face a lot of competition from different teams in the Premier League, maybe teams around us like West Ham, for example. So I think that's one really that we need to massively nail down, and I'd be really happy to see Kyle Walker-Peters join the club. But moving away from that, it's a little bit of a different one now. It's Tariq Lamptey of Brighton. He's leaving on a free transfer this season. He's been massively hampered by injury at Brighton, hasn't he? He's really, really struggled to nail that place at right back for Brighton. Made a really bright start to life down there. I think it was 2020 he signed. Made a really, really bright start. A lot of people were tipping him for big, big things, but it hasn't really worked out for him at Brighton. He's really, really struggled to keep that place. There's obviously a little bit of a concern of his injury record. Do we want to sign another crocked right back? I'm not so sure we do. There's obviously a little bit of concern about his height. He is very short, but his speed is absolutely unmatched. So whether he can really compete with the demands of a David Moyes system where it's really dogged defending, it can be backs to the wall at times, and you have to turn obviously your chances that sometimes are few and far between. You have to turn them into big chances up the pitch. This season he got 15 appearances, scored 2 goals and got 2 assists. The one thing I think helps him obviously is his pace. I've said that's very, very strong. That's a big attribute of his game. So if he can put those injury records behind him and put those injury worries behind him, I think you could pick up a little bit of a diamond there in Tariq Lamptey, and I think there'd be a little bit of value in bringing him on a free transfer to Everton. But can he compete with the height that you need for a fullback? I'm not so sure. So one maybe a little bit further down the list than Kyle Walker-Peters, in my opinion. I think I'd rather see Kyle Walker-Peters join the club than Tariq Lamptey. But no, I think we do have to be a little bit smart in terms of the players that we bring into the squad. Could Tariq Lamptey be a good squad player? I think definitely. So one maybe that could be high up the list should David Moyes want to explore that one. But moving to left back now, away from the right back of Tariq Lamptey, it's Sergio Reguilon. He's leaving Tottenham Hotspur after, I think it's a 4 or 5 year spell at Spurs. He only made 4 league appearances this season for Spurs. He's obviously had failed loan spells at Manchester United and Brentford. Can you call it a failed loan spell? I'm not so sure. He had a few decent appearances there at Brentford. Obviously Manchester United, we know that he really, really struggled there, but there could be some value in backup or competition to Mikalenko there. He's obviously 28 now, so he's reaching that prime of his career, but I think he sometimes just lacks the required quality that you need. I think in terms of hard work, and I don't think he's the hardest of working players. He's not very versatile. He can't really play off the right hand side. So if he were to come in, I think it would be positive as a little bit of backup or even competition to Mikalenko. But I think, as I said before, Kyle Walker-Peters for the fullback is really the one that we have to be looking at here. But moving on to the next one of the list, it's Junior Firpo. Now, this one is maybe a little bit more unattainable than the rest, sorry. He has had a contract offer from Leeds offering him a new deal. So I think if we were to make an approach for Junior Firpo, I think it would probably be pushed back. But that being said, I think he's been instrumental this season for Leeds in their promotion push. But if you're looking at his spell, the first time he was in the Premier League, I think he really, really struggled to get up to the speed of the league. He really, really struggled to defend against top wingers, Junior Firpo. It would be a little bit of a worry bringing him in. And again, I think it would only be competition for places with Mikalenko. I think Mikalenko is a lot better defensively, a lot more assured. As I said before, very poor in his first spell for Leeds in the Premier League. But as I said before, it's probably unattainable, this one, because he has been offered a contract with Leeds. But as it stands, he will be leaving on a free transfer. But that one could change very, very soon. But moving to another one that's definitely leaving, and it's back to right back from West Ham United. It's Vladimir Sofal. Now, this one, I think, almost seems like a formality at this point because he's obviously worked with David Moyes. We need bodies, we need backup in that area. We have really, really struggled for experience at right back. I know Seamus Coleman is an experienced right back and he's great at guiding young players, but his availability has been very, very poor this season, Seamus Coleman. And that's not for the want of trying. Seamus Coleman's dedication to this football club is absolutely fantastic, but I think his legs are just catching up with him now. So I think if Seamus Coleman were to go maybe onto the coaching staff or something, Vladimir Sofal I think would be a savvy bit of business bringing him into the football club because, as I said before, it's that valuable experience that you need. It's like the Ashley Young that, obviously that we're going to have to replace. We need leaders, we need experienced players at the back. He's not going to play every game. We know that. I think we'd maybe want a little bit more of an inspiring right back to come into the football club. But as I said before, he's very experienced. He's worked with David Moyes for a number of years and had very good performances and decent times at West Ham under David Moyes. So could be a smart bit of business, as I said before, with the departing Ashley Young and potentially Seamus Coleman leaving the football club or leaving the playing side of the football club. So one definitely to keep an eye on, but this one seems to be the one that's highest linked in terms of free transfers to Everton. Seems to be the one that doesn't seem to go away and is probably the one that's spinning the most in the rumour wheel at the moment. But moving away from fullback now, and we'll move into centre halves. The first one on the list is Victor Lindelof. He's leaving Manchester United on a free transfer this summer. This one, in my opinion, could depend on the future of Michael Keane. Obviously, we know that Michael Keane is currently in negotiations with the club to extend his stay. We know he'd probably be the fourth choice centre back at the football club. Obviously, ahead of him, you've got Jared Branthwaite, James Tarkowski, Jake O'Brien. Obviously, can play at centre back. He's maybe going to be more of a right back next season. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see how David Moyes deploys him. But I think that the potential of Victor Lindelof joining the club would maybe hinge on Michael Keane leaving and going for a different challenge, maybe a newly promoted side, for example. But if Keane leaves, I would move for Victor Lindelof. But only if Keane leaves, in my opinion. He's not played a lot of football this season, Lindelof. He'd be useful backup, but he's only made 16 appearances, so he's going to lack that match sharpness. So if he were to join, I think it would be fourth choice and replacing the outgoing Michael Keane. So that's all I've really got to say on Victor Lindelof. It's obviously not the most inspiring ones, but if you're bringing in a backup fourth choice centre back, for example, you don't want to bring you don't want to bring a big transfer fee for that example. You want to maybe focus that area on getting a starting centre back rather than spending a lot of money on a centre back. So I think bringing a free transfer like Victor Lindelof would hinge massively on Michael Keane leaving the football club. But another centre half is CJ Egan Riley. He has a lot of suitors abroad. There was reports over in France that Strasbourg have actually agreed a contract with him for 5 years, but that one's kind of stalled in recent weeks, so there could be potential there to pick him up. He was obviously instrumental in Burnley's promotion push, playing alongside Maxime Esteve. Played 41 times for Burnley, formed a very, very good partnership with Esteve, which meant Burnley, I think they went something mad like 13, 14 games without conceding a goal. Obviously playing in front of James Trafford as well, who's a decent goalkeeper. He's a City Academy graduate, CJ Egan Riley, 22 years old, so I think it's the right profile of player, and obviously a sort of profile of player that if he was tied down to a longer contract at Burnley, they'd maybe be demanding sort of 15, 20 million for him. So if you could pick him up on a free transfer, I think that'd be absolutely fantastic. And I think he'd maybe slot in between James Tarkowski and Jake O'Brien as maybe third or fourth choice centre half. Will be able to ply his trade very well under the likes of James Tarkowski and learn from a fantastic centre back in Jared Branthwaite. So this one would be obviously a fantastic sign. I think he'd be really, really positive. But as I said before, he's got a lot of suitors, and there is reports over in France suggesting that Strasbourg are or were in advanced talks with him to join their football club. So this one we've got to wait and see, but I thought might as well chuck it onto the list and see what your guys' thoughts are on CJ Egan Riley. But moving away from defenders now, we'll go into midfielders, and the first one on the list is Josh Brownhill, and this one also has a little bit of a caveat. He's also been offered an extension by Burnley. I think he would be a decent squad player. He's 29 years old now, he's reaching his prime. I think it'd be very similar to the James Tarkowski signing from Burnley, just because it's a solid pair of hands. He's got Premier League experience, has obviously been relegated with Burnley, but has showed that he has got quality and is a decent player in the Championship. So could he cut it as an Everton squad player? I think definitely. I think that'd be a positive signing. But obviously, as I said before, he's got that caveat of currently being in negotiations with Burnley over extending his stay at the Clarets. But moving away from that now, we'll go to Angel Gomes. He's the next one on the list. He's probably one of the standouts on this list. He's impressed over in France this season for Lille. He's made his England debut this year as well. Probably has suitors higher up the list than us. West Ham, Spurs, maybe. He made 14 appearances this season, got 1 goal, 1 assist, playing in that midfield role. And he's also an ex-Manchester United Academy graduate, so there is that. But I think he's one of these players that has maybe been out of the limelight now for a few years. Obviously going over to France, playing his trade, but I think he's maybe ready now to make that step over to the Premier League. So I think this one would be definitely worth exploring. Maybe seeing how much he wants a week in terms of wages, and if a deal can be done and we can bring him in on smart wages, getting him into the squad, I think that would definitely be a positive signing. But moving away from midfielders now, we'll go into the last one on the list, and it is the striker of Callum Wilson. Now, this one also comes with a caveat. He has also been offered reduced terms by Newcastle. He didn't actually score this campaign for Newcastle in the league, so it does beg the question, is he the player he once was? Listen, Evertonians don't need telling about Callum Wilson and the amount of goals he scored against us in recent years. For Newcastle, for Bournemouth, he scored so many goals. But for me, I think there is hungry younger options out there to maybe come in and be Everton's second, third choice striker. I think Callum Wilson might turn into a bit of a journeyman now in the latter years of his career. Obviously, not scoring goals in the Premier League as consistently as he used to be. This one, I'd maybe steer clear a little bit, maybe give him to one of the newly promoted sides and watch him at Bramley Moore have to score, at that South Stand and have to watch him score another goal against Everton. Maybe just sign him just to stop him scoring against Everton. But I do think there's better options out there than Callum Wilson that we could maybe get on a minimal fee rather than a free transfer. But that is all for the free agents list, really. Obviously, the main omissions of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and Kevin De Bruyne are probably a little bit out of our reach at this point. Maybe another season under David Moyes, throwing our name in the hat for these players. But this is really the most attainable players that we can get at the moment. And let me know your thoughts in the comments about the potential of them joining the football club. Obviously, a free transfer means we can maybe spend a little bit more on a signing on fee and potential wages. So let me know your thoughts on all of them. That is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.